of the American Revolutionary War of 1776. A tangled web of conspiracy spans North America. In the war of survival, it does not matter what your creed, color, culture, or gender is. All stand together. Thomas Paine's common sense is held aloft in every rebel patriot's hand as they take up arms against the British Empire. But as the revolution has begun, something far more mysterious stirs. Agents of the occult intrigue both the Continental Army and Loyalist Redcoats. Freemasons conspire in the city of brotherly love. Maryland is in the throes of a witch hunt by the Knights Templar. Amid the chaos, other grim fairy tales have emerged. Reports of witches have been seen in the Great Dismal Swamp. Indigenous Sakem say the devils called Manitou walk among the living. Flesh-gobbling ghouls have been tunneling beneath Boston. The Pine Barrens of New Jersey are haunted by what the locals call the Leeds Devil. And worse still, an ancient enemy whose name is never uttered aloud seeks to consume all, loyalists and rebels alike. In this game, most people have either chosen to deny the supernatural or rationalize it away. A rare few accept it for what it is and act. You are among those heroes and are destined for greatness or death. Welcome to Flames of Freedom, where your grim and perilous tale hangs in the balance.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Flames of Freedom, Boston Besieged. We are joined by the amazing cast that you all probably met last week, and if you didn't, we're going to do some quick intros. Sadly, we are absent a Nikki today. She is feeling a little bit under the weather, so she is taking the time to rest and recover, just like all of the player characters probably will be very soon. We are instead joined by her character, Felicity's pet, Hans the Donkey, who is our steadfast and silent partner in the quest to break the siege of Boston. So let's go ahead and have the cast introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, who you'll be playing. I'll start with myself. I'm Anna, or Nymeria if you prefer, and I am your historian. I will be facilitating the game today. And to my right, yes, I pointed the right direction this time, is Dee. Let's go around, tell the people who you are, who you'll be playing today.
Hello there. I'm Dee, or it's the Riddler if you prefer, and today I will be playing Ferrow Mason.
Excellent. Ferrow is our group diplomat.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Very charming.
Yeah, I'm Fenway, also known as Fenway the Teen DM on Twitter. I will be playing Wynn Hamilton, the counterfeiter.
I'm Jeff Muller. Sometimes you can find me on Twitter at the Mighty Jerd. I'm playing Jacob Allen, the Man of God.
Yes. The pacifist who is also probably the scariest person in the party after last episode. Just saying.
That's a statement, Man of God. Having him in your corner, that helps. I'm Isabel Mackenzie. Well, I'm Lydia, but I'm playing Isabel Mackenzie, and she's a Scottish immigrant who is a herbalist and a little bit nervous and a little bit not really made for these trying times, but she'll have to deal.
Excellent. So before we go ahead and get started, one more quick shout out to all of our sponsors. Thank you very much for supporting this stream. You can learn about the particular game that we are playing today and all of the others that are going to be on Encounter Roleplay right here. And also, if you are watching this from the future on YouTube, welcome. I was not informed by any comments last week that the rebels did in fact win the Revolutionary War. I'm counting on you to report from the future what actually happened. So when last we left off, our party of unlikely associates had met each other at the Sign of the Maiden Tavern after being asked to speak to somebody, a rebel contact called Philip the Short. They learned that this was Philippa Pullman, who is a member of the prominent Pullman family here in Boston. They have many family members that are involved with the revolution. One of them is at the Continental Congress, and she asked them to help smuggle her niece, who had been the target of several kidnapping attempts, out of the city and to safety. And you all were successfully able to do that through a cunning combination of subterfuge, a decoy carriage, and some good old-fashioned garroting, which Wynn did very nicely. She then put her counterfeiter skills to the test by planting a secret message on the body of the man that she had garroted, unexpectedly bringing down a fair amount of heat upon the party. The characters don't know that yet, but the players have figured out that they have attracted the attention of the Freemasons, a shadowy, mysterious brotherhood they have not encountered too much yet. So at this point, when we're picking up, you all had left off at the wharf from getting Mary Pullman escorted to where her uncle was, and you hear the sound of hooves and clattering wheels coming across this a little bit more paved over area near where the ships are docking. And you spy a carriage being driven by Thomas, the butler of the Pullman family. He's just like, well, I see that the escort job went off just fine. Shall we go back to the house? You can take some time to rest and recover. We should probably keep a pretty low profile just until they have time to get out of the city.
So the boat is still docked. It hasn't set sail yet.
They set sail. Yes, it was just a little rowboat that went into the harbor. So Adam and Mary are gone, and last we left you off, you just had them kind of retreating, rowing away in the harbor.
All right. Well, Jacob's still bleeding from the arm a little bit. So any chance to kind of rest up and find some shelter, maybe a warm bed, sounds appealing to him. So he's just going to kind of nod and look at everyone else and kind of make his way up into the carriage.
Isabel has...
Ferrow will extend a hand out to the young Miss Hamilton and say, well, I believe our carriage awaits us. I wanted to pick your brain a little, if you didn't mind, when we got back to the Pullman estate.
I mean, why not? It depends on what you want to pick my brain about, but I'll do my best.
And Isabel has spotted a couple of plants that grow near the shore and is collecting them, joining them in the carriage as well.
Where Felicity joins you two, because we are down in Nikki, I think she is going to attempt to take a very long rest through the night to recover from the injuries she sustained in the fight with the Freemason agents. So you all collect yourselves into this carriage. Thomas is quite happy to take you all back to the Pullman House. Speaking of, it's the least that, the family can do after you rendered them such a great service. And you find yourselves back at the house. You are free to do anything you wish to recuperate, rest up, talk amongst yourselves about what has just happened.
Before we actually get back to the house, as we're pulling up,
Yeah.
Jacob is going to take a moment to definitely look around and see if any of the people watching the house are still conspicuously there, because we are returning to the scene of the crime, so to speak.
Yes. The agent that you had seen standing in the shadowy alleyway watching the house is no longer there. And
Okay.
there isn't really any sign of the Freemason agents per se, although there are still the odd redcoat patrols that are just walking through the streets, very similar to what had happened when they raided the Sign of the Maiden where you were. So that
Okay.
doesn't seem to be too much out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Tom was the servant's name, right?
Yeah.
Tom, I think I saw some comfrey in the garden of the house. Is there any chance you could get me a good bundle of those? I think some of our number need a little bit of attention.
Oh, yes, of course. And you're free to help yourself to anything from the kitchen garden as well, but I'll go out and do some gathering of what you need, whatever you need.
Jacob, how are you holding up? Any more blood lost?
I'm doing all right, thank you. It's quite sore and bleeding a little bit, but I think I'll make it.
Go take a seat. Keep it up, and I'll be with you in a second. And she's sort of, you can tell she's getting a little bit more comfortable when she's in her element, to her usual very wallflowery way, and is quickly headed to the kitchen where I can hear pots and pans being clung together as she prepares poultices and teas.
Is Jonathan
Ferrow.
kind of hanging around? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dick.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Is Jonathan still hanging around?
Thomas.
Jonathan?
Thomas.
Thomas
Thomas.
the butler? Yeah. I was
Yes.
like, hold on a second. yes. He's essentially, making you as comfortable as possible. Like, he's still very much, managing the household in the absence of the Pullmans. So yeah, he's hanging around.
Okay.
Ferrow will pull, well, not pull Wynn aside, but sort of grab her attention and say, well, so we have a Hamilton in our midst. Interesting indeed. Now, I have had limited to no contact with much of the Northerners up here. I won't pretend to be something that I'm not, but I have heard many rumors that the younger of the Hamilton siblings always finds her way into various sorts of trouble.
I wouldn't know what you're talking about. There's a lot of rumors that spread up here.
Well, of course. And rumors only have so much weight as the people deign to put into them. But I also heard a rumor that one of my business partners up here was in possession of a couple of, let's say, well-crafted duplicates of certain pieces. And given your proficiency with creating things back there that we saw, I think they might be a bit more than rumors.
Well, I mean, I'm a creator and purveyor of goods. I may have acquired something for one of your business partners, but I'm not sure that I would go as far to say that I made a duplicate of anything.
Interesting indeed. And if I needed you to procure a certain number of things that bore a striking quality similarity to things that might be in the possession of others, how would you go about doing that?
Well, uh, I have my contacts, and it might take me a couple of days, but I could get you what you need.
That is wonderful to hear. Do you drink, Madam Hamilton?
Sure.
Wonderful. And Ferrow will sort of turn and go, and what about our man of God? Do you, take part?
I do not imbibe the liquor. No, thank you. Water would be fine, though.
Well, absolutely. And Ferrow will stand up and see Tom Speck move and go, I think I can handle this one. And will make his way over to the liquor cabinets, just looking like a kid in a candy store, like, wonder what exactly do we need for the evening? And they will begin to like pick through and find very fine but very particular types of liquor.
I like how we're talking about alcohol and Jay is raiding with his chat. I think that kind of attracted them, if I may say so. Knowing that chaos group. Thank you so much for the raid, Jay. Nice to see you for some more Zweihander.
I'm glad that they find the 18th century liquor summoned a raid, and it is indeed very fine. This is a well established, well connected household that is still able to keep things stocked despite the circumstances of the siege.
And Ferrow will turn and begin to like interact with Isabel, and then see that she's like busy and doing her thing, and go, I'll just make an educated guess. And Ferrow will come back with 2 bottles of like moonshine that is more pompous, essentially, like super like weird liquors, but that are fine enough to be in this household.
I like to think that Isabel comes back out of the kitchen with a little bowl, having ground down some of the herbs, turned into a little salve, and just as you're about to open the moonshine, just as you're about to go, oh, that smells beautiful, she kind of snatches it out of your hand and is, oh, that's actually precisely what I need, thank you, and starts walking up to Jacob, who's sat down with the hand up, and starts pouring half of the bottle over the wound. Oh, don't be like this. This is just stinging a little bit. There we go. There we go. Oh, there. Here, you can have the bottle back, Ferrow. Any other wounds that need disinfecting, you can use that as a first aid. And immediately starts putting a salve of calendula and comfrey on your open wounds.
Yeah,
I do appreciate the comfort.
Now you leave that like this. Don't move for a little while. It will heal up just nicely. And we'll put a little bandage on it, and you'll be right as rain tomorrow.
I
didn't cut deep.
Truly, thank you. Has Felicity already gone upstairs or anything, or is she still hanging out where we are?
Yeah, she's gone upstairs.
Okay.
Important question though, what's happened to the donkey? Sorry, I didn't.
No, the donkey's more important. Let's talk about the donkey.
Yeah.
Where's Hans?
Where's Hans?
Yes, where indeed. Hans is busy enjoying some delicious fodder in the well-apportioned stables of the Pullman household. They still have, despite the skeleton crew that is kind of taking care of the house, there are still people working in the stables to take care of the horses. And now Hans has got a nice little warm blanket over his back for the night. Hans is in good hands.
So I would say that Isabel would probably notice whenever Felicity walked up the stairs that Jacob was just kind of giving her the death stare as she heads up the stairs until she's out of view, to where he kind of goes back to putting his head down a little bit as he's biting through the pain of his wound. Take that for what you will.
Interesting.
Ferrow will begin pouring drinks for everyone. Madam Mackenzie, do you partake?
Oh, just a little bit in my tea, if you don't mind. I'm a lightweight.
You don't say.
As my dear mother would point out, the devil drink has been the death of many good people in our family. I am not intending on following them anytime soon.
To break in family traditions, then.
Oh, that's enough. That's quite enough. Thank you. She's sitting on a little chair just off. Like, I don't know how everyone's taken their spot in what I'm assuming is the drawing room, but she's holding on, clutching to her mug, like very much not knowing what to do, but a little bit bursting with a need to talk.
Ferrow is definitely sat in a large chair with like one leg swung over the arm of it. We have collected quite the little traveling troupe here, haven't we?
It was an exciting day.
Exciting's one word for it.
It's not the word I would use, but it was a day.
Miss Hamilton, if it's not too forward of me, but where have you learned to defend yourself like this?
Well, when you come from the business that I am in, you need to know how to protect yourself, especially being a younger female in that line of work.
And what business was that again? Pray tell. I'm not sure I caught it.
Ferrow is smiling very wide at that question being asked. Like,
Wynn kind of smirks at Ferrow and goes, "Well, I am a purveyor of goods and a artist."
So you,
if I do recall,
Ferrow. Ferrow, you're talking her down.
Ferrow.
You can do that. Yeah.
Ferrow is just saying, "What an interesting cross section."
If I recall, when we first met, you described your line of business as import-export, if I recall. Is that correct?
Yes, something similar to that. Yes.
And how is business right now? And I just kind of gesture broadly out to the outside world.
Well, obviously I'm not doing business right now, but it's been pretty good. I've gotten a lot of things for a lot of good people.
Let's see. And in your importing and exporting, I'm curious, have you ever seen anything like that piece of jewelry that Ferrow there found earlier this evening?
Well, I've seen a lot of things like it, but nothing with the symbol on it. That group apparently tends to avoid me, or people in my line of work. They don't want to be found.
Do you mind if I take a closer look at that ring?
Of course, and Ferrow will like flick it over.
By the way, Wynn has chosen to sit on the floor instead of any of the chairs.
And Jacob,
Did you
of
do
course,
that
is
at the
sitting in the most
beginning,
uncomfortable
Tavern?
chair there is.
Excellent.
Yes, I also did that at the tavern.
It's a thing.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
She much prefers the floor rather than the chairs. I believe, Isabel, you were going to say something else? I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Jeff. That never helps. We are always someone. You see, I was wondering if you are looking for someone to help with, I'm assuming, your store as a purveyor of goods. I do need a sales assistant or something like that. I would be in need of a job or any form of income, really, that isn't, well, this kind of work.
You are barking up the wrong tree, my friend. Sorry.
How do you
The
mean?
lady speak for herself.
I have no idea what Ferrow is talking about. However, I'm sure that we can find some way for you to help me in my business. It might be a little bit different than a sales assistant, but something similar, of course.
What is it you're selling, purveying?
All
She says
different
all
types
of this
things.
with absolute naivety, by the way. Like, she's absolutely convinced this is all purely legal, because why would it be anything else?
Well, I sell a lot of different things. It's more I get what my customers need.
All right, I'll stop prying. She's catching on a little bit that something's off and deflective.
Now,
And sinks back into.
I do gotta ask, what do you make of that there ring, Brother Allen?
Unfortunately, don't make much of it. Last session, we had determined that. I know I didn't make my roll. Someone had made a roll, though, to know what it was, right? Who was that?
I gotta.
That was
Yeah,
you. Okay.
that was Ferrow.
Okay. All right. So I'm just looking at it and kind of. I take out a little journal from my satchel and I'll kind of just draw the symbol on it in there real quick before I hand the ring back to you. I don't make much of it. I just want to take note of that symbol in case it rears its ugly head again, if you understand my meaning.
Well, if God is indeed by your side, then pray it never happens again. I've heard most of what I've heard about this organization is that they're moving shadows and attempt to do what they wish when they wish. Not exactly a friendly omen, as my nana would call it.
You mean criminals?
And Jacob just looks at Wynn.
In a sense.
That's awful. Someone should report that to the authorities.
That's a great idea. Wynn, why don't you trounce on down to the police station and report this post haste?
Why would I do it? Why me?
Oh, just out of
I had nothing to do
curiosity.
with that.
You're definitely the quickest one here. Certainly the most agile.
Well, just because I'm more agile doesn't mean that I'm the best one to deal with the authorities.
Very true. Very true. Maybe later then, Isabel.
No, that's all you know of these people, Ferrow? Just that they're
Well,
a dark and shadowy organization that tends to shy away from the light, nothing else.
it does sound pretty spooky and hooey, doesn't it? But honestly, they're very secretive, and there's not much that can escape my network. But they have managed to keep their secrets rather clandestine. The fact that I know of their existence in the first place, as you can see by our company, is a bit of a feat in and of itself.
I find it interesting that you refer to them repeatedly as those who move in the shadows. Your choice of words is, well, of interest to me. Should you, in the future, should you find out or hear anything more about them, I would be very interested in learning more. Because, dark and shadowy things, they can fester and grow even in full view of the Lord's light, and I find it important to study them both. I don't think either provides a full picture of the mortal experience, and well, I consider myself a man of learning, so I like to see both sides of that equation. Now, that said, I do prefer the warm light of God on my face, if you understand, but I would be interested in finding out more.
What would you consider dark and shadowy?
As soon as you say that, his eyes dark right back up the stairs to where Felicity walked for a second. Well, everyone has their own definition.
Ferrow will sort of tilt their head to look at Wynn, like out of the corner of his eyes, and go, I like him.
Is something wrong with Miss Felicity in your mind?
Now, I'm not one to judge. That's up to him. But I don't cotton to the darker arts, if you will, and I seem to remember Miss Felicity, as you refer to her, engaging in a little bit of shadowy wordplay.
She takes a fairly deep sip from that cup that Ferrow has undoubtedly filled well with moonshine. I hear there's been a lot of witchcraft accusations in town.
There has. Please don't
consider them.
Wow,
With,
that was
in
impressive.
league
That was
with,
all four of us.
I know, right? Would you consider them in league with the devil, all of them? Rotten to the core?
There's a difference between being rotten and being in league with someone. The devil, he makes it hard to make good judgment calls. That isn't necessarily a sign that someone's rotten. It's how willingly they set foot into that arena, how long they dwell in the shadow, how willfully they avoid the light that makes a person rotten. I don't know Miss Felicity. I can't speak to her other than what I've seen and what I saw I didn't like. But perhaps I'm wrong. I am only a man.
I mean, I will say
words...
Go ahead, Isabel. No, you're fine.
If the shadowy words are used to save others, is that...
See, here we're getting into a bit of a philosophical discussion, I feel. See, a good end cannot sanctify evil means, nor must we ever do evil, even should good may come of it. I mean, it's a great presumption to send our passion upon God's errands and to palliate them with God's name. We're too ready to retaliate with the shadow, to dwell in that arena, and I feel that perhaps we need to take a step back and realize that things are going to occur that are going to occur as per his will. And I look up to the sky again and kind of touch the cross that I have tucked into my suspenders and pants. Listen.
And what of the man who
I do
claimed
appreciate... Go ahead.
the men who claim to execute his will on Earth?
No one executes his will on Earth. We only do our best to follow it. I mean, understand that no matter how directly someone stands in the light, they're always going to cast a shadow. It just depends on how large it is.
You're probably right, Mr. Allen.
Perhaps. I could be completely wrong. And that's the first time you see him really smile for a second. He looks exhausted with the bags under his eyes, but his conversation has kind of brought him a little bit out of his shell, and he's kind of lightening up a little bit. And he kind of looks around for a second and goes back to his dour expression after he realizes maybe he's talking too much.
You know, my grandfather would like you, Brother Allen. My grandmother would like you, Isabel. I find that all the things happening up north here with the accusations and such, very interesting, being the descendant of a bit of a witch myself. Northerners have an interesting take on things. Interesting takes indeed. Well, I'm gonna go refill my cup. Anybody else want to top off?
When hands are cut to Ferrow.
And Ferrow will step out of the room for a bit.
Has the butler been hanging around during our conversation, or has he been off doing his own thing?
He's been kind of in and out of the room, just taking care of, lighting lamps and stuff as it's dark. And I do think he comes by, notices that you had been sketching something in a journal earlier. It's like, Mr. Allen, I wonder if you or Miss Hamilton might be able to help me with identification of a strange symbol that I've recently come in contact with. I see that both of you have some degree of attention to detail. And he just kind of looks at Wynn pointedly over that. And I wonder, he procures from his front jacket pocket a folded letter. Anybody that was with Felicity at the time of last session might remember her eyes were kind of drawn to that front pocket of his jacket before, when she had kind of opened her senses to something supernatural in the room. And it's a note, very kind of vague handwritten note that's like, beware another attempt will be made on Miss Mary Pullman. Be on your guard, be on the lookout. It's unsigned, but it bears a strange symbol in the shape of a cross, and either of you can make me an education test to see if you are able to figure out what that is.
Okay. At just regular skill level? Like no modifiers?
Yeah, just regular. Yeah.
Okay.
I got 5.
So I'm going to say that's probably a success.
I made it,
you,
but not anywhere nearly as well as she did.
All right. So both of you recognize this symbol as different from the one that was on the ring, belonging to a different organization. That is similarly something that you haven't heard too much about, but especially Wynn, in your mind, something about the Knights Templar perks up a little bit there. They are, just because you rolled a 5, like, I'm going to say that in addition to recognizing this, you know a little bit about them. They are also a very shadowy organization that goes back to the time of the Crusades during the Middle Ages. They were started out as an order of knights meant to be guarding travelers and protecting people. Interesting thing about them, though, is that they were officially dissolved about 100 years ago. They, as far as you know, haven't existed in about 100 years, yet here is this symbol drawn on an unsigned note. And Thomas just looks to you and says, well, any chance to make head or tail of that?
Well, yes. Kind of. She looks confused for like the first time that anybody here has seen her confused. And she goes, that they're not supposed to be here. They're supposed to be gone 100-ish years ago. They're not, they were dissolved, like officially dissolved, not like kind of dissolved, but like officially 100 years ago. That is not supposed to be here.
But I think the important lesson that you draw from this is that you have a guardian angel looking over you, and you should be happy for that.
Certainly for the sake of the Pullmans, I am.
A shadowy guardian angel, for sure. Can I kind of like sketch that symbol in my own journal?
Yeah, like make a copy of it. You should be able to do that easily. A reference copy. Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. Just kind of jot down the...
Okay.
Has Ferrow returned, or is Ferrow still out?
No. Yeah, Ferrow is looking around the house and just sort of muttering to themselves with both drinks in hand, going, now why would someone want to kidnap a teenaged girl? There's plenty of money.
Isabel will go look for Ferrow for them while Jacob and Wynn are sketching and talking to Tom. She kind of slips out of the drawing room. I'm going to try and sort of be quiet, sneaking up, if you will, on Ferrow to see what they're doing.
Okay. You want to make a stealth roll for me, just to see if it works?
Not? I want to roll some jazz.
Yeah.
Roll the dice. And if they fail, it's your fault because it's the dice you sent me. Probably no. Nah.
You're trying to be on the down low about this, but footfalls are still echoing through these hallways.
I think she actually bumps into a little cupboard that has a vase or something on top, but it starts dangerously swaying. Oh,
It just doesn't make sense. There's lots of rich places, lots of rich people, lots of rich families in the city of Boston. Can't be a ransom, though. Message, maybe? And without looking at Isabel, Ferrow will hand her one of the drinks and say, "Stand right there." And we'll climb on top of a piece of furniture, turn and squat and say, "There's gotta be something. Can't be money. Can't be a threat, maybe? What do the Pullmans have that I don't know about that that organization would want?" What do you think, Madam Mackenzie?
I think that we are possibly in a situation that is a little bigger than we thought. Master Mason, a little more, well, outlandish.
Outlandish is good, though. Outlandish is where the fun happens. That's where the new ideas spout from. Also call me Ferrow. But there has to be...
Your grandmother.
Yeah.
You mentioned she was... you called her a witch, I believe. If I'm not mistaken entirely, that is a dangerous word to throw around these parts.
Well, hey, my grandmother was a very proud woman. She said she's not something to be kept secret. She was an oniromancer. She saw things through dreams, divination, things like that.
Is that possible?
Apparently.
All right. I believe there could be a connection there. If what you say about these Freemasons is true. And if what I know to be true about young Miss Pullman, then you see where...
Oh, I knew I liked that girl. Oh, well, that is just fantastic. Another layer is introduced. All right, so let's follow this train of thought. Let's say that the Freemasons want to come after Miss Mary Pullman because she is kindred with your type of folk.
My type? No. No.
Oh, right, of course.
Yes. I would not go that far.
Naturally. My apologies. I make presumptions sometimes.
I can tell. But she's certainly a good one. A good witch. I think, if there is such a thing. Can I start looking around? She'll do it in a trying to get away from any decisive statement here, but she'll start gazing around the room. Can I look for any particular symbols, any particular witchcraft-related items that would tell me whether it's Mary or if the whole family has a penchant for the occult?
Yeah. You would see hanging on the walls of the house and like decorations, these sort of ornamental family portraits, the kind of thing that you put out to display your wealth and your status to visitors and things like that. But like most portraits from this time, there's the portrait, and then there is the hidden layer of symbolism in things that the figures are holding on to, different colors that they are dressed as. So if you would like to describe what that looks like, something that Isabel recognizes. But yes, the portraits of Mary and also not Philippa, interestingly, but a couple other members of the family, yes, does give you some indication.
Ferrow, you may have noticed all the female members of the family in the portraits. Can you see them holding a branch of the round tree with the berries? The red things.
Right, yeah.
You see, where I come from, the round tree is protection against evil spirits, against the she that may come and steal your children at night and sour your milk. If you've insulted them, usually you have it coming. The red berries protect. The pentagram, just here. And she gets a little bit closer to Ferrow just to show them what she means. Every little berry has a pentagram at the stem. It's not evil. It's protection. It's, well, I believe it might be the sign that we were looking for, that you were looking for, the connection to these kinds of powers. I noticed it on the way in.
You are more perceptive than you let on, Isabel.
Why, thank you. It's very kind of you to see.
And Ferrow will put a hand on her shoulder and say, be proud of what makes you who you are, even if other people stand it.
I will consider that. Should we return, or would you like to snoop around some more?
Well, I am kind of interested in what is in one of these other cabinets, but I suppose I should save that kind of thing for later in the evening. I'll follow your lead.
Oh. I think they'll make their way back.
So before they make it back, while they're up doing their thing, traipsing around someone else's house, Jacob is going to look over at Wynn and kind of double check that Isabel isn't back yet. Far be it from me to tell you how to conduct your affairs, but this might not be the city for you to continue your activities currently. Things seem to be a bit dangerous out there, and I would hate to see you get hurt.
Well, I appreciate that very much, but this is currently my home, and I don't plan on moving around just yet. There's some more good I can do in this town. Plus, now it looks like I might have a new business partner.
Just do me a favor, please, and well, first, are you referring to Ferrow or Isabel?
We'll see.
Yes, I see. Well, of the two, please don't corrupt poor Isabel any more than you need to.
I wouldn't call it corrupting.
I know you wouldn't.
I
would.
I would call it teaching her the ways of the world. Just a different world than she currently knows.
You'll do as you will. I simply was weighing in on the situation that perhaps wasn't my business.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, but as you might have noticed previously, I can take care of myself most of the time.
Oh, I did. I do recall. I take no issue with that. I'm sure you can. Anyway, forget I said anything.
Well, thank you, Mr.
The important question, though, is does our altercation earlier this evening leave us in a precarious situation? And I can't remember. Did they, the ones that escaped? How many were there?
Of the agents that had come, 6.
Yeah.
So there was the one who had been garroted, 4 of them ran away, and then there was the 5th one who had the mangled up hand.
Right.
That was, yeah.
I mean, there are several people out there that have seen our faces.
Well, I mean, before I took down one of their friends, you were the one standing on top of the one with the mangled hand, with the cross, shouting at the rest of them.
Trying to de-escalate a situation I didn't want to occur in the first place. You are correct.
Well, not saying that it was bad, but I will say that most likely the one with the hand probably didn't take too kindly to being stepped on, so you may be more of a focus than I will. Plus, I'm a little easier to hide than you might be.
You do realize how tall you are, correct?
Yes, but it also means that I can hide as a member of the opposite gender.
That is true. Well, it's just something to be aware of. We might have more eyes on us than we're used to.
Absolutely.
And Jacob's just going to kind of go back. He's going to pull his little Bible out and start flipping through it and just wait for Isabel and Ferrow to come back down the stairs after that little bit.
When I tried to refill your drink, but Isabel, he was just so damn thirsty. Sorry about that. And he'll sit back down.
Oh, that's...
Just Lydia has a comment that Isabel would never make, so I'm two wolves within my soul.
Wynn looks at Isabel, who claims to not be a drinker, and then sits back down.
Well, I plan on heading to bed and taking a bit of a rest and hoping that this poultice that you put on my arm takes hold. In the morning, I plan on slipping out as early as I can because I feel that eyes will be back upon this residence soon. Should any of you need blessings or guided worship, you can find me. And So, and I don't know exactly where Jacob has been doing his work with the, the rebels, but
Yeah.
he will kind of provide whatever address or locale that is.
Yeah, that can be up to you. I'd imagine it's probably somewhere near the university or something like that, because you do have that preceptory connection. So even if you are not necessarily officially affiliated with the university, I'd imagine that you'd be hanging around that area somewhere near there.
Yeah, so I'll throw out a name of a very small tavern that's right on the edge of the university, that probably has a nice back room that he does his work out of. You can find me there at the Shady Stable, near the university. Plenty of room for Hans should he need it.
Well, I
That is
think
very kind.
Madame Felicity would be mighty cross with all of us if she woke up to see her noble steed missing. But I appreciate the thought nonetheless, Brother Allen.
Well, with that, I wish you all good night.
Enlightening.
That it has. and before something gets domestic up in here, Jacob's going to head upstairs and head to bed.
Oh, it sounds like the neighbors are having a row again.
You joke.
And
but...
you... Rough time in Boston. So you all make your way to where you have decided to spend your evenings. Of course, the Pullmans are more than happy to let you stay at the house, or Thomas is more than happy to let you stay at the Pullman House. Before, let's see, Jacob was leaving, right? Yeah, before you head out, Thomas does call you all together for a short while. There was a message that came while you were off with Mary doing the escorting. I recognized, well, once you explained what it meant, and he pulls out another letter from a table at the front of the house that is marked with the same symbol of the Knights Templar that you recognized. Well, now that I know what it means, and he'll hand it over to you all. It says, "Dear friends, I am anxious to renew our fleeting acquaintance from Bull's Wharf, as it appears we have certain interests in common. Therefore, I shall be pleased if you would take dinner with me tomorrow evening at about 7 o'clock, when we can discuss matters further. In particular, I have something to disclose that will be to your financial advantage. You may find my house off Beck Street, overlooking the mill pond. Your humble servant, Grace de Beers, Esquire."
Does that name ring a
Haven't
bell?
really an idea what that symbol could mean, but it seemed important. Sorry, what was that, Jeff? I didn't catch what you said.
Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah, to you actually. You know that Grace de Beers owns a shop in the city because she sells books and scientific instruments. You have been by this. It's one of those kind of buildings where like the shop is on the ground floor, and then there's like a living quarters, small apartment type thing up top of there. Never really encountered anything with her to do with the Templars before, but you have had good business dealings with her. She is very, friendly and pleasant, happy to help you find some things that are maybe a little bit more difficult to procure, because reading material is a bit scarce and expensive. So you are familiar with the name.
And the letter was addressed to who?
The letter was just addressed to the Pullman household. Like, just delivered to the Pullman house.
While we were gone, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, as if someone else knew where you had been.
I cannot deny that I could use the money.
What do I know about the area of town where this house is?
Go ahead and roll me a standard eavesdrop or rumor.
Ooh, I'm good at eavesdrop.
Yes, you are.
Who could have guessed? Well, it's unfortunate, but it is a 69.
Nice.
Do remember that we have
Would you?
the rerolls.
Yeah, like
go for it.
Yeah, I'll use a reroll.
yeah.
Absolutely will.
As much as I hate to break a 69.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it just the worst? That's better. That's a 35, which is a success.
Excellent. All right. So, what do you know about this area of town? This is, again, somewhat close to near where Harvard College is. Makes sense to set up a shop with books and instruments and such near where students and professors would be wanting it. The main thing that you would know about this area is that this is one of the areas of the city. It's kind of pervasive throughout the city, but the British soldiers have basically like forced the people there to offer them quarter, put them up, room, board, etc. They think nothing of just kind of charging into people's houses and just demanding a place to stay, demanding to be fed. And most people don't really have any choice but to just kind of go along with that. Interestingly enough, though, thanks to your network, you are aware that Grace De Beers' house and her shop have remained untouched by the British. You've heard rumors that she might be secretly a loyalist. That's why. I mean, she's a very sort of private, professional person, has not been, given to outlandish displays one way or the other, but people whisper that maybe that's why the British haven't touched her house. Some people wonder if she has bribed General Howe to leave her shop alone, because she does have some considerable wealth, resources, things like that. But yeah, you would know all of that.
Well, folks, if any of y'all are interested in having dinner with one of the Untouchables, I would suggest you don't stray too far.
I'll consider it.
I might. Tom has offered for us to, or for any of us to stay in this house. Is that? Am I remembering it correctly?
Basically, courtesy of the Pullmans. You can stay here if you like.
Having anywhere else to go, to be perfectly honest, so you will find me here. I'm making myself useful where I can.
Oh, wonderful. We can have a slumber party.
Oh. That's quite inappropriate, Ferrow.
And what about you, Miss Hamilton?
Well, I was thinking I would stay here for a little while. My business is closed down for a bit, but I thought it might be fun to stay here.
Wonderful. Amazing. Well, Sorry, Thomas. No parties this weekend, unfortunately.
That's
Hey,
quite all
we
right.
are
We'll
like-
have our hands full with Hans.
Wonderful. Well, I do believe the brother Alan was about to make your way out.
I am. Well, my arm is feeling much better, Miss Mackenzie. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And he kind of kind of reaches out a little bit with his hand, and it looks like he's making it obvious, but not obvious that he has something in his hand. As he kind of reaches us out to almost shake your hand.
Mhm.
Do you?
And she'll take your hand at first in a classic way of like that, rather than shaking hand. And when you don't really, it's very awkward for everyone to see. But
Wonderful, love it.
Apologies.
He'll kind of press his palm into yours and leave 5 pounds in your hand.
All right.
So
She'll put it away, probably not realizing that it's money, but thinking that it's a letter or something.
So you all will be staying here? Is that what I heard?
I don't see why not. It's vacant. Nice. We can keep Thomas company.
Well, the only thing I would say, and I've mentioned this to Miss Hamilton already, is that I would be wary. Eyes were already upon this residence. Eyes have already seen us. So staying here will be exactly, I think, where people will be looking. So please be careful.
Well, there's no way to answer the door if nobody's at home.
Oh, one other thing. As you spend time relaxing here in this wonderful estate, Ferrow, should you find your mind wandering, would you do me a favor and think back and let me know later if you recall the name of another organ? It seems we're just knee deep in organizations here. The Lodge, if that rings a bell. Just see if something shakes loose, and let me know later.
I'll
Thank
ask
you.
around.
I do appreciate that. And with that, Jacob's gonna make his exit.
Sounds good. So,
Now
unless there's
that
anything else
is-
people want to do tonight, go ahead, Dee.
As Ferrow was gonna say, now that is a tough man to read. That's all Ferrow had to say.
All right. So you're all making your way to your respective places to rest and recover for the night. You were able to heal up from any peril or light wounds that you may have sustained during the fight. And the day dawns on the city of Boston yet again. You have a little bit of time to wander, explore the city, do some research, any sort of other activities that you'd like to. So why don't we go ahead and begin with Jacob, because you have gone back to your apartments, your living area near the university. What would you want to be doing before this dinner with Grace De Beers?
Well, I'm going book shopping at Grace De Beers bookshop.
Awesome. So, let me see.
Basically, since Jacob has an excuse, he's going to go scope it out a little bit ahead of time, is what he's doing.
Yeah. So you go into that district where the bookshop sits. It's a nicer part of the city. So far, it hasn't really been too negatively touched by the siege. You know, there's not like the same sort of broken equipment and signs of violence and raids and stuff that you had seen down by the docks. Um, as I said before, and because you would be familiar with this, you know that she's got that kind of apartment up top of where the shop is. Although, interestingly enough, the door is locked to the bookshop today, even though it is a business day, and the shutters are still up uh, around the windows in front. But you can hear the sound of someone moving around inside. The door is locked. You smell in the air just the sense of the city coming alive over the, morning chill that has dampened down the scent of night soil. Comes fresh baking bread and people milling around, just sort of chatting, gossiping. You hear the sound of animals and wagon wheels and such like that. And there's just a few people that are, milling about, going about their daily business. Everything looks almost peaceful. You'd be surprised there'd be a war going on, but here we are.
So Jacob is going to find just someplace he can perch, whether it's a bale of hay, a bench, on top of a barrel, whatever, where he can see
Sure.
the door of the bookshop and the shutters. And he's just going to he's just going to do his morning scripture readings, and he's just going to wait and see if the shop opens. And wait if necessary, and wait even more if necessary.
All right. We also have Ferrow and Wynn, I believe, wanted to do something during the day, yes?
Miss Hamilton, you think you could join me on a bit of a stroll? It's so nice out.
Sure. The weather does seem to be nice today.
Yes. Also, I think Miss Mackenzie kind of needs a break from me. And Ferrow will head out of the door.
I can't imagine why.
So, Madam Hamilton, I wanted to more accurately discuss our respective line of work and what it means to coexist in a business relationship with the more unsavory things that you handle as compared to the more publicly accepted things that I handle.
The things I handle aren't all unsavory. There may be a job or two in between that might be a little more unsavory than others, but what do you mean by unsavory?
Well, I more meant how the public would view your job. I personally think that people in your rumored line of work are actually quite important for a business such as mine. That thing
Really?
that you sold, I believe it was painting or a vase, something like that you sold to my associate. They actually had no clue of what exactly it was. They thought they had an original. It's part of why I'm up here in Boston.
Well, I certainly don't know off the top of my head what I sold. But I can assure you that I only got them the best.
And that's exactly why I wanted to talk to you, because as far as duplicates go, that was damn near spot on. I mean, it was spectacularly done.
Well, thank you.
So I'd like to encourage you, monetarily, of course, to continue your work. But I'm gonna pass along a little list for you of people maybe not to sell your specific items to.
Sure. I mean, if you can give me a reason to not sell them, then sure. Whatever you say.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think things will go well between this arrangement that we have here. And Ferrow will look up to the small sort of herbalist shop, like a greenery or somewhere that they can purchase plant life, and open the door for Wynn. Just gotta make a quick stop.
What you picking up?
Something for a friend.
Friends are nice. I don't usually deal in these kind of wares, but I've heard that they can be very helpful.
Indeed. And Ferrow will walk in and approach the counter and ask for 13 roses.
Well, it's the middle of winter, but I think we could pull a few strings for the right price.
I would appreciate it so dearly.
All right. You are essentially being charged an arm and a leg. And we'll have these ready for you in about an hour or so. But to procure roses in the middle of winter, that's going to cost you some.
That's why Ferrow is okay with being charged so much.
Yeah.
They know
I'll get you an exact number later if you need for inventory reasons. But yeah, that's going to be
wonderful.
Fairly expensive. Yeah.
Have you ever heard the saying that 13 is an unlucky number, Miss Hamilton?
Well, yes, I think that everyone has. But I'm not.
Wonderful.
I don't put that much weight into numbers.
Well, superstition didn't come from nowhere. And I'll pull one of the long-stemmed roses out and hand it to Wynn and say, "To our new business arrangement."
Well, thank you very much.
Tell Thomas and Isabel that I'll be back before dinner, but fashionably on time. I've got a date to keep. And Ferrow will make their way out of the greenery.
Yeah. Wynn will find her way back home. Or back to the manor.
Sounds good. So,
in the
Jacob.
manor.
No. You go ahead, Isabel.
No, we can end on that. It was mostly descriptive, so let's do Jacob first.
Okay. Jacob, you've been sitting on your hogshead, perhaps watching the folk go by the street getting busier as the day goes on. And after a little while, you notice this young kid watching you, maybe about like 12, 14 years old, just at the beginning of what looks like an apprenticeship. He's been hauling supplies to make wagon wheels back and forth through the streets, and he just keeps like looking over his shoulder at you as you're reading and watching the house. And then he comes up to you after dropping off another thing with his wagon wheels, and it's just like, hey, you're not one of them people that's been spying on that house, right? What, that traitor loyalist lady, right?
I'm sorry. Who?
Miss De Beers. Everybody says that she's just paying off the redcoats so that they'll leave her alone. So are you coming to shake her down or what?
That is not my intent at all, actually. I was just trying to sit here quietly and enjoy the crisp air and take in the good word of the Lord. But you say people have been spying on this shop. I do shop here on occasion. Her books are quite, well, they're of high quality.
You mean expensive, right?
Well, with expensive, yes. That is exactly what I meant, young man. Now, you said others have been spying on this house.
Yeah, I see them. I seen people coming and going at night. My apprentice master says he doesn't put any stock in rumors, but I know what I saw. People come in and go in, knocking on the door. Sometimes they got those hooded lanterns, you know, being all sneaky like.
Yes, I know exactly. I know exactly the type of people you're speaking of. And you should mind your elders, but it's also important to understand that rumors generally have a basis in truth, at least somewhere once you start digging. So thank you for that tidbit of information. I will be sure to steer clear of here in the evening when those sorts are about. Now,
He gives you kind of a little...
Was that late at night? Like...
Yeah, right around after maybe 10, 11 o'clock when it gets dark.
It's quite past my bedtime, so I do feel I'll be fine. But thank you very much for the warning.
He kind of peers at you really hard when you say not quite past my bedtime, because he's not sure if you're messing with him or you're just that old.
Well, then... I mean...
It's like,
yes and yes.
Watch out. Watch out for them lobster backs, mister. They'll squeeze you dry. And then he turns and saunters back off to his cartwheel area.
How many people are out and about on the street?
This is a well-traveled...
It's a busy area?
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Is there a way to... Is there a way to get around the back of the shop? Like, without trespassing or anything? Is there like a side street or anything else to where I can kind of
like
do
a little alleyway type thing?
Yeah, I just want to do a full circle of the place and check all the entrances and exits prior to the evening.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is there anything in particular you're looking for, or are you just trying to suss out where they all are?
Oh, yeah, points of ingress and egress is what I'm looking for.
Okay. Yes.
And I also want to see if there is a door in the back.
There is not like a back door per se, but one of those things that looks like it perhaps leads down to a root cellar that's got like an external hatch on the ground. Appears to be barred from the inside, but you're able to deduce that it's very likely attached to the shop.
While this is not Jacob's area of expertise, he is aware that people will mark buildings in surreptitious fashions. He is going to see if he can spot anything like carved into an awning or a shutter, even though he probably won't know what it is. He's just kind of looking, because there seems to be a multitude of opinions as to this person's allegiances. So I'm curious.
All right. So you're looking for hidden signs. Let's go ahead and have you make a hard awareness test.
All right, so
that'd
hard
be at
is
a minus 20.
Awareness, you said? Oh, this is going to be hard. All right. Yeah. 23 or lower. Okay. Holy crap. 16.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So as you are sort of padding around the back of this building nonchalantly, there's definitely folks that are coming and going, you know, like running businesses and shops, but nobody is really seeming to pay you too much mind. And you're going over that area where, you know, how there will be like a triangular patch right as the angled door meets the ground, and you see scratched into the wood there a cross symbol that looks exactly like that letter from the Knights Templar. So the house is marked with that same symbol.
Okay. Good enough. I'm going to take note of that. I'm going to make my leave, and I'm going to head back to my domicile too.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I got Jacob's got thinking to do. So
Our learned man. Isabel.
Isabel back at the house will literally try and make herself useful. If Tom isn't around, she will try and clean. She will try and get the garden in a little bit of shape. She's looking through the garden as well for any particular herbs that she can use. Mostly for healing. There's poisons, she has the knowledge, but it's not what she does. So collecting a little bit of chamomile here, a little bit of yarrow there. And I do want to ask Tom more on Mary and her and the history of any form of witchcraft in the family. So I don't know where Tom is at that point.
He, I think, has taken a shining to you, because I think that he, also being of a more like culinary chef type persuasion, this garden that you are gathering your medicinal herbs in is kind of his pride and joy, and he's just tickled that someone else has taken such an interest in this. So, you know, he's quite happy to talk with you about the family and all of that. It's just, hold on, let me get my notes up here.
Yes, in fact, you could easily get a little bit of a chicken coop here and use the chicken dirt for, in particular, the mint. Even depending on the weather, I guess, might even get a couple of berries in, which I don't know if the family has plans on returning, but at least the blackberries should grow well.
I certainly do. I hope that they, when all of this war is like, to have the house full again. That would be nice. It certainly has been ever since the family came over from Scotland years ago.
I thought I saw a tartan up in the library.
Yes. Not of as recent extraction, but sure, it must have been a very, very hard thing for you to leave it all behind.
Well, my mother thought it best to make sure there was someone in the new world. My brother never wrote back. He was a bit of an adventurous soul, and I have distant family here, so she sent me. May I ask, how long have you been working for the Pullmans?
I've been here came to the colonies about 20 years ago, and worked off my indenture, and I have been working for the Pullmans these past 15 years, since just before Miss Mary was born. Oh.
They do seem like good people.
Yes.
Keeping with some of the old ways as well. I noticed the Rowan is one of the family symbols. It's in the crest.
Yes, it's exceptional talent that the family has. I'm afraid I was never quite had that same knack as the rest of them, but it's something of a tradition, you might say.
Those can be dangerous, those traditions these days.
Yes.
I was wondering if perhaps the attack on young Miss Mary had something to do with that. I wouldn't expect you to disclose any family secrets. I know where your loyalties lie, and I respect it, but I do worry for her, and, well, she seems like such a bright young lass. I'm hoping to see her again soon.
I don't think it would be overstepping too much, especially since, well, there's a bit of an understanding here, I think. And yes, truth be told, I'm not quite sure whether these kidnapping attempts were primarily attempted to get at her father for his political activities. That seems likely, but there is always a chance that there are people that know about the true history of this Pullman family. The family has worked very hard to keep this aspect of themselves private. But as you can see, for those who know where to look, it's not difficult to find. There are those that make it their business, their life's work, to hunt down practitioners of magical or arcane arts, to destroy them. I don't think we could necessarily rule it out. I mean, even now, does Isabel read and write?
I think
Do you
so.
know?
I don't know if that's stats connect. Is that just a question for me, or are there any stats connected
That's
that I
just
should
for
be
you.
aware of?
Yeah, I was. No, not necessarily. I was just curious.
No, she does read and write. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure you've seen pamphlets. There's always new broadsides that are being posted of making sure that people report on those who practice, spy on those who practice even. I worry what would happen if they got a hold of her name. You know, there's the kind of pamphlets that are just beware witches, don't suffer them to live, and then there are specific people that these inquisitors go after. Elizabeth Gould, for one.
Elizabeth Gould?
It's a name I've seen crop up quite frequently. Don't know much about her, but...
Do I?
Well...
Does that name ring a bell?
Go ahead and make me a... I'm going to call that a challenging rumor or a challenging eavesdrop. Whichever you prefer.
Challenging is +10?
Challenging is -10.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'm not making it, barely. Boo.
You could use a fortune point if you like.
I will,
You
and I
have a minute,
actually...
though.
Yeah, I know. I will. I also completely forgot about my ability that allows me to roll a d6 chaos die whenever I spend a coin. No.
Oh.
It's not a 6. Else it would basically go back. It wouldn't convert to the other pool. But...
Oh, I see. So you roll the chaos
Yeah.
die in order to not have to flip it over to me. Excellent.
Yeah. But, ooh, that's much better. That's a 29. That makes it.
Perfect.
So, yes. Thank you, Dark Arts.
Just don't roll my dice when I tell you to do things and you'll be fine.
I will fucking flip them. It's my life's work at this point.
This is a name that you have heard of, because even among those who practice magic within the colonies, there are some that try to keep things private, like the Pullmans, and then there are some who are just kind of renowned and well known. And so you have heard this name before. Elizabeth Gould is a multicultural woman, both of Indigenous and Black descent. And she is renowned as a mage for being very good at both magic and medicine. So that's another definite thing you would have heard of her workings. She does live in the city of Boston, but nobody has heard from her or seen her since she started to attract some of the attention of these pamphleteers. But you have
Elizabeth
heard of her.
Gould, you
She's not the
say?
type of person to hide too much. Yes.
Well, when I was questioned, as I'm sure you know, the name came up again and again and again, almost incessantly. I don't know why they thought I would know her better than anyone else, but other than buying a few rare herbs from her every now and then, I have had not many dealings with Miss Elizabeth. But I do believe they really want to get to her. I couldn't give them anything. Probably for the better, because, well,
Oh. Sometimes survival is the best we can ask for, eh?
I did not picture my arrival in the West quite so difficult, I think is the word. Challenging.
Well, I don't wish to pry into subjects that could be painful discussion, but you know you have friends among this family as well. Please don't hesitate to call on us if ever you're in need.
Oh, you're already helping me quite a bit, I must say. Just having a roof above my head again is helpful. On that note, shall we head back inside? I believe we have a good amount for dinner.
Indeed. And he'll offer you his arm as you all go back into the kitchen to prepare your meal. And Ferrow, I believe, had something.
Yeah, Ferrow wants to just sort of wander wistfully through the city as they do, and come to a home and knock on the door, and when it's answered, sort of speak in French and say, Adrien, it's so good to see you. I can tell that your husband isn't in at the moment, which is a bit unfortunate, but these are for you. He'll give her the roses and say, and tell General Lafayette that I met that girl who sold him that vase, and she's pretty good. I'll keep an eye on her for you. And give her like a kiss on either cheek and make his way back to the manor.
And with that, we're going to end today's episode of Boston Besieged. Oh, brilliant. Wow.
That plot twist.
This, yes. Oh my goodness. So juicy. When we, at the end of last week, talked about the things that we wanted to do for this upcoming episode, everyone was like, let's have a chance to figure out what this group all wants to do together and why they're sticking together and solving these mysteries. And I think we discovered that the answer is just y'all have a bunch of juicy secrets just begging to be investigated. It's wonderful. All right.
There are.
So, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
There are not a lot of business-minded people in Boston that can speak French well. So I figured that if there was someone in Boston who needed a French translator, Ferrow would be, oh, I'm going to be in Boston for a little while.
Excellent. So we are cutting today's episode a wee bit short today since we are down Nikki. Let's go ahead and just go around. If you have anything that you would like to share, remind people where they can find you online. And as we did at the beginning of the episode, let's start with D.
Oh, hi, I'm D, or it's the Riddler in chat. I am a streamer, voice actor, musician, professional DM with the Emerald City Gaming Guild. You can check me out in Crimson Spires, released by Woodsy Studios, where I play one of the lead romance options, Julian. And on Wednesday, tomorrow, you guys can catch me over on the Critical Misses channel, where I'll be DMing a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition game chronicled Under the Pale Cold Sun. And I've been playing Ferrow Mason, the diplomat.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Well, I am Fenway Jones, the teen DM, as you may know me from Twitter. That's where you can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on all of the social media at Jasper's Game Day and online at jaspersgameday.com. And I have been playing Wynn Hamilton, the counterfeiter.
And a very good counterfeiter, no less.
So I'm Jeff Muller, at the Mighty Jerd on all the socials. I've been playing Jacob Allen. I'm loving this game, loving the group, loving the system. This is fantastic. If you're interested in following all the things that I get into, I'm an actor, voice actor, fitness guy, podcaster. I do all the things. Pretty much just check out my Twitter. If you're interested, though, my pinned tweet is a link to my latest movie that's out on Amazon. If you are a fan of horror and or fantasy, check out The Forgotten. It's up there right now, free for Prime subscribers.
Does the donkey get an outro as well? Because
it's time for the voice. It's time for donkey noises.
Just good at freaking donkey noises.
I was about to say, because we didn't get the donkey. I'll see it. Yeah. I'm now I live. Wonderful.
Yep.
Well, since Nikki's not here, she will be joining us, of course, next week again. And my fellow witch, so to say, and I'm looking forward to seeing her again. But you can check out her stuff as the Wicked DM all over Twitch and Twitter, and she's also included and involved in various projects, among them the bisexual one-shots, or the bi-weekly one-shots with bisexual players, because, you know, visibility is important, and many other projects. So check out her Twitter. As for me, you can find me as Half Hours Hermit on socials. I mostly live on Encounter Roleplay because reasons of dark arts nature, I'm assuming, but I don't want to throw Charlie to the Witchfinder General, so I'm going to leave it at that. DMing every Monday for Song of the Deep on Encounter, and you can also find me on the postmortem, the GM postmortem over on Colonomicon's channel every other Friday. Apart from that, every now and then projects are coming up. So again, just check Twitter if you are interested. And do stop by our LFM network. Thank you very much for the raid. We are just about to finish up a little bit early because we're down one cast member. But thank you so much for stopping by as well. I'm going to throw the Discord up for our schedule and for all of our projects. And Anna.
Yes, it's me. I'm Anna. I'm at Nymeria941 pretty much everywhere on the internet, and I have been your historian. So thank you all very much for watching this week's episode of Boston Besieged. If you missed our premiere last week, I just threw up a link to our YouTube channel where you can get all of the past episodes of things that come up on Encounter Roleplay, this show, as well as all of the other fantastic shows that we have going on this season. If you are watching on YouTube now, I'm curious to know not just what is going to happen at the end of the war, but what do you think is going to happen when everybody convenes for dinner next week? Because quite a lot could happen. So what else can you find me doing? I am kind of doing all Zweihander all the time. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm a developer editor for Flames of Freedom, which is just celebrating our successful Kickstarter. Yay! If you'd like to try this game out for yourself, I do also have a quick play that I will tweet out again on Twitter. You can find me as well playing Zweihander in a different historical setting on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern. I play in Bloody Portrait on Chromatic Chimera, and that is a Zweihander game set in Renaissance Florence, and there are vampires, and my character may or may not have made two contradictory devil's bargains against each other. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. She's probably gonna die next week, but you know what? It's fine. And then you will also be able to find me playing in a game of A-State on Sunday on Colin's channel at Colonomicon. I'm going to be playing a character who is a murdery professional knife fighter in this sort of cyberpunk Victorian setting. Very excited for that. Very much out of my usual character type that I play. And I think that's about to do it for me. So we're going to leave you with our channel trailer and then stick around because we are going to raid WebDM, where one of our other lovely GMs, Susie, is playing in a game of The Dark Eye. So thank you so much for joining us. Stick around, get your raid emotes ready, and we will see you next week.